I'd like to call the meeting to order. This meeting is being recorded. I would ask if there's anyone else recording this meeting. Seeing none, if you'd please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have some special recognitions this evening.
I do, so I'm very excited to introduce to you, and Stephen, if you want to come up to the podium, this is Stephen Marshall. He is a senior at Auburn High School, and he is working very hard to earn the rank of Eagle Scout. Stephen did come and meet with Mr. Fahey and I, has been in communication with the elementary principals, Dr. Lopez and Mr. Lavelle, Dr. Chamberlain and Mrs. Stanek, and wanted to come before you to share his proposal of what he intends to do and would welcome your support in doing so. So, Stephen, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. So my project is called Buddy Benches. I'll pass this around afterwards. This is a simple picture of a bench that I found online, but that's what they're going to look like. It's essentially a bench that I would build. I'm going to build 3 of them, put them at Bryn Mawr, PacChalk, and Swiss, and then after I build them, I'm going to do a PowerPoint presentation for the teachers and a select group of kids, maybe like a student council at PacChalk or something. And then if they see anyone sitting there, they know the kid doesn't really have anyone to hang out at recess, bring them into your friend group to develop new friendships. Most of the helpers will be from my troop. That's what we try and do with Eagle Scout projects. However, one of my friends is going to be from a church organization that I'm part of, CISA, the summer camp, Christian Servants at Work. And then my Facing History and Ourselves class at Auburn High I'll be helping out. I had Facing History last try, and the teacher, Mrs. Heidman, asked about my project because she knew that I was a Boy Scout, and they're all just love the idea. They want to help. And then when I met with Dr. Burnell and Mr. Fahey, Mr. Fahey mentioned a project called library boxes that I had actually never heard of, and he wants me to build them to put them next to the buddy benches, and then inside obviously will be books, as you can see, and then anyone sitting on the buddy benches will have something to read while they're sitting there, just in case anyone's not able to come over to them until the end of recess. They'll sit there bored. So to help me collect books for this, I've been in contact with student council at Auburn High School, and I'm starting a book drive. So, yeah, that's about it. It's a long process, big project that Eagle Scouts are. Eagle Scout projects are.
It sounds like you're very ambitious.
Yeah.
But be careful when you talk to Joe Fahey. He's going to keep putting you to work. If you do a good job building, then he's going to keep you going.
That's a nice idea.
As you're looking at those, and just to add on, there have been a few other students in the district who have pursued their Eagle Scout. There could be many, but a few that I'm aware of. And it's quite a process. Stephen brought to Mr. Fahey and I this package of materials, and he's got to go through the proposal, and as he said, he's got to make sure that monies are, he can raise or get others to donate and things. So he's been in touch via email. He's going to actually present to the PTO on Monday evening. And hopefully he's raised the money for the buddy benches, but hopefully seek their support. He's anticipating about $100 for materials or so for each of the library boxes to place there as well. So he's going to present. I did speak with the co-presidents of PTO, so he'll go Monday evening and hopefully get their support for that small amount of money as well.
Yeah. I'm still working on collecting the money for the buddy benches. You specifically don't need to collect the money for it, but I'm hoping that Home Depot will be able to supply most of the materials. If not, one of the troop leaders in my troop, Chris Hunter, he works at a lumber company, FD Starrett Lumber, and hopefully they'll be able to donate the rest.
Thank you for correcting that, because that's
Yeah,
what I meant,
no.
that you have to at least get money or donations
Yeah.
to be able to purchase it and stuff, which is great.
Right.
Really good.
That's great.
Excellent. Any questions or comments, Christine?
Through the chair, I just think this is a really important project because
Thank
it
you.
would surprise you that, you think Auburn's a small, close-knit town,
Yeah.
but if you go up there at lunchtime, you do see kids kind of just milling around by themselves.
Right.
And they're still learning their social skills and how to make a friend. And
Yeah.
I think anything that facilitates that is really great. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments?
No, I think it's a great great initiative, and
Thank you.
definitely, let us know if we can help you out.
Oh well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you need any donations, feel free to seek us out. Our emails are posted on the school website, and I know we're a very giving group, so
Okay.
I'm willing to donate, and I'm also offering the services of my fellow committee members to donate.
Thank you.
So, come and
Through
find
the
us.
chair, through
That's
the
great.
chair, you don't want us to help you build anything.
I was going to say, that's
No, we're very proud of you, Stephen. It's great to have youngsters like you in the community, and I think you're doing a wonderful thing there.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Brunel, anything? in
Just
closing?
congratulations, and as you promised and when we spoke, you'll just keep us apprised and work
Yeah,
closely
I will.
with the principals, and good luck Monday night. I'm sure you'll be
Thank you.
supporting. Thank you so much, and
Yeah.
thanks,
You're
Stephen,
welcome.
for coming.
Good luck with your next presentation.
I will. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. And if you'd like to take off, that's fine too. It's about to get very boring around here.
Thank you.
I teach in Southborough, and we've had the buddy benches for several years.
Oh.
And particularly with the younger grades, our schools go K1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the middle school, and they're very successful.
Great.
Not stigmatizing at all.
Great.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and be safe and
Yes,
enjoy
everybody get
the weather.
home.
Enjoy your day
Yeah.
off.
Thank you so
Get home
much.
before the storm hits.
Nice to
Yes,
see you as
thank
well.
you.
Bye, Stephen. Thank you. Okay. Seeing no citizens to make comments, we'll move on to the student representatives report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since the last time I reported, we were beginning to celebrate the holiday season in the high school. So to do that, we had a Spirit Week during the last week of school, and a bunch of the teachers actually began to decorate their doors to holidays. Like one of the teachers actually made their door into Snoopy's doghouse from the Christmas special for Charlie Brown. Throughout last week and the week since, the athletics have been going well. Last week, the boys hockey team actually had a really big comeback win. They were down 3-1 at the half, but they came back to win 5-4. NHS had a field trip to the New England Aquarium on December 20th, and the French class also put on a French production of A Christmas Carol on December 18th.
Excellent. And everyone's back into the swing of things at school. and-
Yes.
yeah,
So
ready-
far.
Ready for another day off?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Nothing like
Thank
a-
you for that report. Any questions?
No.
Comments? No? Would you like to stay, or do you have some things to do?
I'm just going to stay.
All
I don't
right.
have time to do it.
You have no excuses,
Yeah.
there's no school tomorrow. I hear you. I would seek approval of the minutes of December 6th.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes of December 6th.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, there's a vote. We now move on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the first item is approval for trip to Canopy Lake Park. The freshman class advisors, Mr. Lapete and Mrs. Peralt, are seeking to do this. This trip has happened in the past, and it is my recommendation that you approve it. It is not anticipated to take place until the second week in June as an end-of-year activity.
I would entertain that motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the freshman class field trip to Canopy Lake Park on the last day of school for the 2017-2018 school year.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Have fun.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, there's a vote.
The next item, after a thorough review and based on some challenges that we've been experiencing with our student information system, we are going to be transferring, I wanted you to be aware, to Power School. That's going to be the new platform. We're also going to be updating our website as well as our learning management system. So there was a number of people led by Mr. Bouvier, Dr. Lezay, and Ms. Berkowitz, but involved representatives from across the district. So we're very excited for this to take place. We've notified our current provider, who will work closely with us to make sure that it's a seamless transition, but we hope to have all of these up and running later this school year even, and probably rolled out to families for their viewing sometime this summer or early fall. So very excited. Good
Great.
things coming. The next two items, actually, so the first one is from the Southern Worcester County. The annual report was provided to you, and it does not require your vote to accept them as a member district, but it is required that it be shared with you. It was a comprehensive report that really focused on students, their programs, and how those programs are designed to best support the kids in them. So really a job well done, I think, by the executive director and her entire team. From the Assabet Valley Collaborative that we belong to also was an annual report as well as the auditor's report. Again, they don't require your vote, but just for you to receive them. It really has been, I was uncertain whether we really needed to belong to two collaboratives, but I will say, not only myself, but I know Dr. Lezay, Mrs. Reedy, Mrs. Worsbicky, Mr. Bouvier, and others really have benefited from working with the two collaboratives. So it's great, and it gives us more choice and options based on students' needs because they offer some slightly different programming.
Good.
So, and we have children in both of these programs now, so it really is a good thing.
Heard some good things.
Yeah. The next item, just wanted to make you aware, recently received from the Board of Ed that optional, the insurance fee for iPads should be an optional fee. So I just wanted you to know about this. I continue to believe in when we notify parents, this is for next year, of this cost, I will certainly encourage them to take the insurance out because the cost to replace an iPad is rather hefty. But I would ask for your vote because you had voted the first time to implement the fee. We'll still have it, but it will remain optional for next year.
I would entertain that motion.
I'm gonna make a motion to move the iPad insurance to be an optional charge starting in the 2018-2019 school year.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions, concerns?
I do have a concern, just that, you know, what happens when the person opts out of the insurance plan and then the iPad breaks?
So that is a challenge that we've actually been talking about in district, and I think that, you know, when parents sign off, they'll need to attest to the fact that if it is broken, that they're going to be responsible for the full replacement cost. So it could create an issue, you know, for a family who may not be able to pay. But what some other districts do is they allow them to use the iPad in school only and then not take it home. So to try and limit the use to minimize the potential of further damage.
Because that's my fear, you know, you get maybe 10 families who don't pay up, and then
Right.
we're carrying this
Correct.
huge cost.
Correct. That is the challenge.
And
So,
that's not fair to the others.
Right?
yeah,
Someone will pay for it.
right. True enough.
And through the chair, can you guys just refresh my memory on what the actual cost is for the insurance?
It's $50 for the insurance, and that means that unless there is intentional damage, and there were a few instances a couple of years ago of that, then there is no further charge to the family, even if it needs to be replaced.
Thank
Up
you.
to 2 full replacements in a year
Okay.
that we've
And-
not had.
Thank you. And then to follow up, what would the cost? I think is it about $600 or $800 to replace an iPad fully?
The newest ones that we received are just about $400. The older ones that we had were about $500. But obviously, we'd do it at whatever the new replacement cost would be. So it really is a wise insurance plan for parents to take.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And that, excuse me, that's not prorated if they have 4 children or something.
It
They
is
have
not.
to pay 50 per child.
Correct, correct.
All in favor?
Yeah. Aye.
Right?
Aye. Is approved.
The next item will soon be bringing forward to you a recommended calendar for the 18-19 school year, but as we typically do, just seeking to see if you have any guidance or recommendations. As you know, one such thing that we've talked about in the past is we have abbreviated the February vacation. I continue to believe that that makes sense. Previous survey data, I think, would support that as well. And the case in point being, typically, when we return from the December break to the February break, there's about 6 weeks. We have the Martin Luther King holiday off. We're having tomorrow as a snow day, and while I hope there will be no more between now and then, in all likelihood there may be. So, in fact, other districts are starting to do that. But any thoughts or comments that you may have for us to bring back to leadership, I would welcome your input.
Through the chair, and this is just something actually specifically to do with the teacher work days, the PD days. I think there have been some rumblings from a few of the parents about the fact that it's on a Tuesday, which might be a little bit tricky for some working parents to
Mhm.
find childcare just for that day. So I might suggest that we look at maybe allowing parents, if they need to opt in for maybe early Galaxy or Satellite on that days, if we're going to stick with Tuesdays. Or I know it's been a really big success with the faculty and staff, so maybe we don't want to mess with that, but maybe look at some other creative solutions for
Sure.
parents that can't get out of work on a Tuesday.
Yep. No, we can absolutely do that, and, that has been something that we've been talking about, as a leadership team. And we appreciate the committee's support last year when this calendar was set, because it is important time for teachers to need. We want to make sure that we're balancing that with family needs too, so there may be a way to do some sort of a compromise, or to be able to be flexible with families who might need it. So we'll certainly bring that back to leadership,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Through the
Sorry.
chair, I think one of the biggest problems was that we don't have the satellite program in the Galaxy after school, and so parents were just left with, there is no care for their
Right.
kids.
Right.
So, but then the flip side of that, if you do offer it, now the parents have to pay more money to keep their kid in there. So, I mean, from what I've heard, not great things about the whole thing, but parents preferred having just a whole day off.
Right.
So, I don't
Yeah.
know, George had mentioned maybe doing like a survey or something, or...
So, through the chair, and we're happy to gather information, so we're working within the parameters of the teacher's contract, the Auburn Education Association contract, that sets the number of full professional development days, as well as the day before school starts and the day after school ends. So we'll be negotiating. We've actually started with our first ground rules meeting today. So we're somewhat, at least by the current contract, limited to adding additional days. But I think in terms of the half-days, we do satellite until 4 p.m. on those days, but even that, so for those people who are part of the satellite program, it has them get out of work a little earlier rather than 6, so we can certainly look at that. But maybe there could be an option, and I don't know, I'm throwing out ideas, and I'll bring back with leadership, that people could perhaps opt in on those days too. But I think we'll look at the number of days. We've now had ones in September, October, November, and December. We'll have one at the end of January. So the leadership team, I know the early comments from them, from their faculty, were, these are great. It's a terrific time to be spent on learning and teaching and some of the things that we don't have time for during the day. But we'll certainly look to try and balance that and see if we can't do something to accommodate possible.
And I guess that was, through the chair, my other question for you was, what is the feedback like from the staff, and do they prefer to have the half-days instead of taking one whole day?
Right. So I've only gotten the feedback, or we've gotten the feedback from the principals. And probably, I'm going to think we asked maybe in November or after the September and October ones. It was from them overwhelmingly positive, that it was time really well spent and time that they needed to work on just a plethora of things. But I think, that there were a couple, one in particular that came, and I think it was the October 24th to the November 7th one. It was 2 short weeks later, so I think that, when I looked at the others, most of them were 4 weeks, 6 weeks, even one was even 7 weeks in between. That one seemed to come right on the heels of the one just before it. So I totally understand. I've not heard directly from parents, although I did have a parent representative say to me, she was reading things on Facebook, and what should she respond? And I said, have them reach out to the principal, or they can reach out to me directly. I've not heard from people directly on that. But I think it's, a legitimate concern, and we'll bring it forward and try and come up with a compromise.
Sounds good to me. Any other comments? Yeah. Moving on.
The next item, wanted to make you aware, so Mr. Davis, our athletic director, and Mr. Pratt, one of the high school PE teachers, shared that Everybody's Fitness has donated 6 pieces of fitness room equipment to the Auburn High Athletics. Those are used by the athletics. Auburn Rec and Culture uses them as well. They're already up and in the fitness room. They're in the process of writing a note of thanks, which we can share with you. But just wanted to make you aware and ask that you accept them with gratitude.
I would entertain that motion.
Make a motion to accept the donation of 6 pieces of fitness equipment from Everybody's Fitness for the Auburn High Fitness Room.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Any discussion?
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. What is the vote?
Through the chair, just to echo your comments, there are so many businesses in the community, as well as parents and community members individually, who donate items small and large. And these here, our students are already using them. And as you know, I mean, fitness equipment is very expensive, and they were really in good shape. So, great donation.
Great. And now move on to unfinished business.
So just a quick update, and Mr. Scobie or Mrs. Harrington, if you want to add in, I think we made some good progress today. Some questions were raised. We're going to get some clarification from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed, and we're going to be meeting again in 2 weeks, just before our next school committee meeting. And I think that we have moved forward quite a bit tonight, and I anticipate that in another meeting or two, we should have some financial policies ready to go.
Good.
Yep. I think things are very positive, and I think we're moving forward. All is well.
So I wanted to share with you, after our strategic planning day that was held back in November, we have randomly selected, we were so fortunate, there was just a number of individuals, all of whom have been contacted now to thank them if they weren't randomly selected. We just wanted to make sure that the group didn't become so large and unwieldy, but do want to thank those people who are going to be part of this. We made sure that they were teacher representatives, community representatives, we have a student representative, as well as parents, and Jesse from the school committee had volunteered to serve in this capacity, and we have meetings upcoming on January 29th and again on February 12th. So we're hopeful that at some point in my target date is a March or April, we'll bring forward a new strategic plan to the committee for your review. So, but
Great.
tremendous amount of great ideas generated. So it'll be fun to get them into those silos, I think. So,
Looking forward to the results.
And thanks to all the volunteers, too.
oh, definitely.
Great event. Okay, moving on.
So in terms of the FY19 draft budget, I wanted to share with you, as has happened in the past, and as you will recall, Dr. Lozay and Mrs. Worsbicky and I went last year and met with the town manager and CFO, and then had a meeting with you to share with you concerns and needed to have you adjust our budget due to some unanticipated special education costs. When we met with the town manager and CFO recently, they shared that they've got a real priority this year around public safety and are seeking to add some positions. So asked the school department to really be extra careful in looking at any new requests that we make. I did assure them that that really is our mantra always, that we request what we need. But we did go back and take a close look at our budget, and as is what happens oftentimes with special education, we've got here some recommendations for some reductions to the budget that was presented to you, but also some additions to our budget, all of which are special education related. We get notification from Early Intervention. That is a state agency that works with students who are prior to 3 years of age, from birth to 3 years of age, who have special needs. And we were notified that we've got some students who will be joining us either later this year, one very late this year, but will be our students next year. And of those children, one needs very specialized care, and another one needs one-to-one support from an instructional assistant. We also looked to see, and another student will actually be coming to us this year. There was a student who was anticipated to be an out-of-district who will be with us next year, so that's the need for about $91,000 in additional positions. But we do have reductions that we're recommending as a leadership team to you. One of them, really in recognition of the town's request. One, we had looked for a .4 administrative assistant, and we're going to make some shifts and move about some responsibilities, we'll be able to eliminate that need. Our EL tutors, we are going to still give them an increase in their pay once certified, and that's been shared with them, but not as extensive as originally hoped. Happy to share that under Dr. Lozay's guidance, the Science Curriculum Committee is making even more progress than anticipated. So those materials we anticipate being able to purchase in May or June of this year instead, which is great news. And then in terms of looking at our special ed collaborative and out-of-district tuitions, we've made some slight reductions based on shifting student needs. So what results is an overall adjustment reduction of $127,967 from what was originally presented to you. So it is my recommendation that you approve the draft budget of $25,849,562, which reflects an increase of 3.47 over the current fiscal year.
I would entertain that motion.
Make a motion to approve the budget adjustments and send forward the updated budget of $25,849,562 to the town manager by the second Monday in January this year, January 8th.
Any questions or comments? Ms. Buckland?
Through the chair, just to clarify, we came up with these reductions kind of on our own. This was not specifically requested by Ed or Julie. We just-
Correct.
Okay.
These were reductions on our own, absolutely.
Great. That's
in
wonderful.
additions, yes.
Thank you. Okay. That's it.
Any other questions or comments?
I would just like to make the comment that this shows us we're going to be able to budget for the changes in the special education needs of our students, but this shows why we might need that extra money, because you never know when someone's going to move in, and you have to provide an extra $91,000. And it's a state law. You have to do it. So having that money set aside in case something like this happens, and it's not budget time, that leaves us in a better state.
Agreed, 100%.
I'd just like to say that I'm glad that we were able to shave the budget a little bit. As was mentioned earlier, how Ed and Julie came to the table with us last year, and the town was there to help us out when we needed some extra funding for our special ed accounts. So anytime that we can do the same in turn and help them out maybe in a year where they're sensing some struggles. And I'd also like to thank Dr. Brunel and the whole leadership team, as well as department heads and all the teachers for developing a budget that not only is going to benefit our students, but I understand there's always a frugal nature involved when they put this together, understanding that the needs of the town also have to be looked at. So I appreciate everyone's effort in putting this budget together.
Agreed.
I do have another question. The EL tutors,
Yes.
I know they can sometimes be hard to come by. I hope they're not going to be so disappointed that they leave us.
You know, I think through the chair, Dr. Lozay works closely with them, and she's actually shared this information with them, and actually they're extremely excited at the prospect of it. So they have indicated their strong desire to stay in the
Okay.
district, and we have a number of really good ones.
Okay,
Truly,
good,
yeah.
because I know they are hard to find sometimes.
They are. Yes.
Agreed. Good, because they are appreciated, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Aye. It is a vote. And if I could just add under unfinished business that we're missing one of our members, Wayne Page, and hopefully he's doing well. Wayne, if you're watching, get well. Join us soon. I understand he's coming along well. He's on the mend. Gail, is that
Yes,
correct? Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
hopefully he'll be back for the next meeting.
maybe by the nicer weather at least.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
We now move on to new business.
So Town Manager Jacobson had outreached me an idea, and it is something that she's going to be starting a Citizens Academy. And they're going to be, it may already have been advertised, this was prior to the break, that they're going to be looking for a limited number of Auburn residents who are interested in learning more about town government and opportunities available in town government, and asked if the school department would like to be featured on one of the evenings. So we've agreed to do that. It will be on April 12th. We're actually going to be starting at the middle school. I've got to enlist the support of some leadership team members. We're going to give them a tour of the new middle school, share with them some of our operations and activities that we undertake or things that we offer in the district, and then take it's called Rocket One, our van that we call now, affectionately. We'll transport them over to the high school, get a tour there, and learn a little bit more. So it's like a question and answer period from 6:30 to 8:30. There are going to be presentations by the fire department, police department, in a number of different departments in town. So really like an opportunity to kind of open our doors and welcome some people in to learn more about our operations. So just wanted to make you aware that would be happening.
Okay.
Rocket One, is that like Air Force One?
Correct.
I like
yes,
that.
it is.
That's the way you should travel around.
It is.
Dr.
Oh, definitely
Yeah.
so, yeah.
I have bulletproof
Yeah,
glass.
right.
We may need it.
I will say, both Dr. Lezay and I, as well as a number, we have been trained in it if ever it is needed. Had to watch a video in a training session and do some practice driving, but I won't be driving that evening, so.
Very flattering.
Could be. The school choice, excuse me, in the draft budget that was prepared and you recently approved and will send forward, we did utilize money as offsets for the school choice, for the high school and middle school, keeping those same numbers. So it is my recommendation that you approve them at those levels for next school year. Remember, this is an annual vote that's taken as well.
I would entertain that motion.
Make a motion to approve school choice at Auburn High and middle schools at the same levels for the 2018-29 school year.
Do I have a
Second.
Second. Any comments, questions?
Question. Now, when we say we have 45 at the high school and 26 at the middle school, most of those are continuing students, right?
Correct.
Because I know there are people interested in possibly using school choice to come to Auburn.
Correct.
But about how many slots would we even have open?
So
If
it,
any.
it varies. So we will have some slots open because our seniors will leave. So it varies sometimes from 5 to 7 or so. It depends how many students leave. We do have sometimes students who are school choice students who then move permanently to Auburn, so come off of that
Sure.
roster. But it varies. So what we'll do is we look, Mrs. Zotner and I, to see where the school choice students are currently in place and where we have openings, and then we do the random drawing on April 1st, May 1st, I forget.
Sure.
Whatever the school community policy is around that, so. But I would guess, that based on past years, it could be anywhere from 5 to 7 slots available
At each school?
in total.
In total?
In total,
Wow.
it is. We have, Mrs. Zotner is the one who makes the calls. She gets to make 5 to 7 calls that people are very pleased, and then many, many calls for people who
Yeah.
were not randomly selected.
No,
So it's hard.
that's pretty slim odds.
It is, yeah.
It's unfortunate that we have to decline that many, although it's a testament to what we do here, to the efforts of all of you
Yep.
and all of you. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Those opposed?
So we wanted to share with you, as we annually do, Dr. Lezay and I sent letters of congratulations to those students at the middle school and high school who earned high honors or regular honor roll, trying to encourage them to continue their hard work, and there were a number of them that received it, and kudos to all of them and their families for their commitment to education.
Excellent. Those letters are a big hit, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Some of my fellow members have seen them on social media.
Oh,
Parents take a picture of the
Oh,
letter
good.
and put it out there.
oh,
So,
nice.
No,
Nice.
it's a nice thing.
It is a nice
Great.
thing. that
Congratulations.
It's acknowledged like
Yeah,
that.
that's great. And then upcoming, we have kindergarten and preschool registration on February 7th. So that's an exciting time, and once that starts, it really starts us thinking even more deeply about next year. There's plenty of time left in this school year, but a number of great things taking place, so good things are happening.
Excellent. Thank you for that. We now move on to teaching and learning. Dr. Rosé?
Just a few topics to discuss tonight. First, I wanted to make you all aware of a new LOOK Act, which stands for Language Opportunity for Our Kids. That's where you get the look from. And this new act actually provides Massachusetts schools with greater flexibility around the types of programming we can deliver to our EL students. I want to say early 90s, maybe mid-90s, Massachusetts really put forward a push that we would do English-only instruction for our EL students, and that it would be a lot of immersion. They've since backed off on that a little bit, and they're going to allow districts to put forth proposals to provide other types of programming if they so choose, such as a transitional bilingual education program, which means students could come in and get some of their initial instruction in their native language for a short period of time, or a dual language education program, which they would be immersed in 2 languages, English and then their native language also. And some districts did still run those concurrent immersion programs. What will have to happen if a district decides that they want to offer something different than they're offering now, they would have to submit a proposal to DESE, who would then have to make sure that it meets all of the federal and state requirements and approve it. At this point, because we're still considered a low incident district, we don't have any plans to change our models. As they give more information, we may entertain it, but we don't know that at this point. So we'll keep you informed about that. A few other requirements of this new act, which will affect us, is that presently at pre-K, we do screen our students so that we have a baseline, but we don't need to offer them direct instruction or a direct program. Now this Look Act is requiring that we will have to identify some program for them as well. So we will have to have tutors go into those classrooms on occasion to support those students as well. They also will require any district that has 100 or more ELs in the district to create a EL parent advisory, similar to a CPAC or a special education parent advisory. We presently have 85 students, which is actually up 15 from last year. So at some point, I do anticipate that we will break that 100 mark, which is good for the district, and we will create an advisory at that point. The department is presently creating new endorsements for the teachers that would be able to teach some of those alternative programs, so that's in process. But they're also in the process of creating benchmarks and guidelines, and then also like a success templates for ELs to make sure that they're meeting benchmarks, and if not, that there's a plan in place to get them to meet those benchmarks. Once they design that and adopt them, districts are required to adopt those as well. And another feature of this is that they're going to encourage districts to provide a state seal of biliteracy. And what that means is that we'll encourage students to become proficient in 2 languages. So an EL student who comes in proficient in Spanish, but then becomes proficient in English, would qualify and meet that requirement. But also English-speaking students who take Spanish or French at our high school and meet a certain proficiency level would also be able to get that state biliteracy seal, which is exciting, and it promotes dual language for all students. In terms of our district report cards, which we get every year, DESE sent those out to all the districts prior to the break with the requirement that they be sent to all parents in districts that serve Title I students. So we sent ours actually out on December 14th. We were early birds. We did it via a one-call email, but we've also placed them on our school websites, our district websites. We have hard copies out in the lobby here, as well as hard copies at each of the schools so that parents can access them if need be. It was interesting this year because we took the Next Gen MCAS. There's very little data provided to the schools K-8 because they had no reference point. This will be the new baseline going forward. However, because the high school still uses the legacy test, their report card was filled out completely. So parents may question that, and we've given them contact information of the principals and myself in case they have questions about that. What they're also looking to do going forward is to actually change the report cards that they use. So they have a website or a survey link that they've put on the report cards to get feedback from teachers, from administrators, but also from parents and other stakeholders. So anyone who's wishing to give that feedback, that's available on that report card, which again, as I said, is on our website. Dr. Brunel mentioned that pre-K and kindergarten registration will take place this February 7th at the presentation room at the high school. We've kind of tried to streamline that process. We no longer will require the parents of our present students, whose students are going to continue, children will continue in the preschool or go on to kindergarten, to actually come and fill out a stack of paperwork. We've kind of narrowed down the paperwork. We're going to ask them to complete a student verification form, to redo a residency form, and then medical information, but we're actually going to mail that to them so they can mail that back or deliver it to the school. That way they don't need to come in, which has allowed us to actually cut the day down from an 8 to 7 day of registration to a 3 to 7. And that will be more efficient for our new families who are also registering. So we think that everybody will appreciate that. And lastly, Dr. Brunel also talked a little bit about elementary science program. We have created a science curriculum committee that has representatives from every grade level as well as administrators on that. They've come together 3 times thus far with 2 meetings a month planned going forward. And they spent a lot of time really articulating and brainstorming about what a great science program should look like for K-2 students, what it should look like 3 to 5, all the way up. And out of that, they created a rubric. What's important to us to have in our program? So that's the rubric that we're actually going to use to evaluate the various programs that we're looking at. We recently started to examine the program by McGraw-Hill, who also put out the Wonders program we recently adopted. So they saw a lot of similarities and connectedness to that one, so they particularly liked that one. So we will have a consultant come out on January 18th and talk to us. We're reaching out to other districts who are using it to see if we can potentially visit and watch it in the classroom and then debrief with teachers. We have another program by Pearson called Elevate Science. That will be the next one we look at. There are some other supplemental programs that aren't complete programs that we will look at. There's very little out there on the market in terms of complete programs, so we really anticipate that by March we'll be through the process and be able to have a proposal of which program we would like to adopt. And again, as Dr. Brunel said, be able to purchase some of those materials now, possibly get some professional development now so that the summer can be used for the planning towards the first year of implementation. So we're excited.
Great.
And that's that.
Just explain a little bit about that process, Dr. Lozay, as far as who and when you determine which series is going to be used.
Sure.
Is it just the leadership team or the teachers involved in that discussion?
Absolutely. So we put out and ask any teacher who's interested to be a part of the curriculum committee. Then we make sure that we have representatives from every grade level. Oftentimes we get 2 or 3 per grade level, which is helpful. We have administrators come as well. They, as I said, create a rubric so that they're all looking at the materials through the same lens of what's important. And as they go through, they rank it. We add up those points at the end of each, and we say, so this particular program earned 35 points, this one earned 50, this one earned 24. If you just go by the numbers, it's a given, but oftentimes there's more discussion at that point because people come back and say, well, I thought about this, or I tried this lesson, and I'd really like people to know that the assessments on this are more rigorous than that. And it was interesting when we went through the process for ELA, we were convinced by the numbers which program would be the one we would adopt. After further discussion and a vote, we take a vote, so it's the teachers that are voting and the administrators that are there. They vote, and whatever comes out is the one we adopt. So I feel like they have a very strong voice in it, and that way they own it, and they go back to their schools really selling it to the other people who aren't able to be on the committee due to other time commitments. But
That's perfect. If the others don't like it, then they're going to take the brunt of the complaints.
right.
Yeah,
And we
I like
also
the way the
try to,
process works.
we also try to build in an opportunity after the committee has gone through it to rotate some of the materials through the building so that teachers, if they have some time, can take a look at it and give feedback to the people on the committee. So everybody actually has a chance to look at it to some level, which is
Yeah, they
helpful.
should.
Great.
Right.
I
If they're
like
going to
it.
have to use it, they definitely should look at it.
Right.
That's great.
So,
Any questions for Dr. Lozay? No? Thank you very much for that report.
Thank you.
Excellent, as always. We now move on to business and financial, Dr.
So
Brown.
Mrs. Worsbicky did provide a list of transfers, most of which are within series, and some, though, that are between series that require your approval. So I would be happy to answer any questions if you have them. Otherwise, I do recommend that you approve them as presented.
I would entertain that motion to approve the transfers.
Make a motion to approve the transfers between the series as presented by the business manager.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There's a vote.
And then finally, we've provided, Mrs. Worsbicky will be at our next meeting, but a year-to-date budget report for you to see. We continue to be very comfortable in the position that we are in right now, taking care of our student needs, but I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Any questions for Dr. Brunel? Do I have any questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll now move on to policies.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So included in here, there are 19 policies in total, but important to note is 11 of them have absolutely no changes. Really just as a reaffirmation from you. These ones came from a review by Mass Association of School Committees. 8 do have changes. They are noted as track changes. In many instances, they are rather minor, but it is my recommendation that you approve them as submitted.
Could I ask a question? What does it mean, tracking changes?
So if you go to...
Because I saw that all the time.
Through the chair, if you go to policy student complaints and grievances, file JII, the tracking changes means that what you see there in red, so
Yeah.
it shows if it's underlined, it's something that was new added.
Okay.
If it's crossed out, it was removed from this based on MASC recommendation.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would entertain that motion.
I make a motion to approve the above new policies as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Discussion, no, without putting you on the spot.
Yes.
Could you just explain to us how the policy review works? I know when we were away at the school committee conference, I was in class regarding policies. And how often does it happen? Is it yearly? Is it every 3 years? Do you review so many policies each year? Just a quick description.
Sure. So typically what we try to do on an annual basis is bring forward to the school committee generally 4 or 5, depending at each school committee meeting, because you always want to make sure that your policies are current and up to date. This summer we actually received, and that's why you've seen a number of them updated. MASC must have gone through. Sometimes they're new policies in response to new laws that have been implemented. And they send forward recommendations. But they did go through this time a pretty thorough review to update to be sure that all of policies that they share are in line with current laws or regulations. So we're soon to be through those numbers, but I anticipate that we're going to continue to bring forward 4 or 5 or up to 10 per meeting, and that way, because the policies of a school committee are really what dictate and drive the decisions that are made. You know, the policies that you set is what I adhere to, what our leadership team adheres to, whether it's, you know, budget planning, if it's school choice, if it's entrance age and such. That really drives the decisions of the district. So it's important that they stay current.
Excellent, thank you for that. I just found that was interesting at that seminar, so I thought maybe we could pass that along to those 3 or 4 people at home that
Sure.
are watching.
Hold on, through the chair, one more thing to add to that, you reminded me, at the conference, the student fundraising activities, they had actually mentioned the use of GoFundMe pages, and they said that we might want to incorporate that into our policy, saying that those aren't allowed because of the tax stipulations and
Sure.
just to protect themselves, or teachers especially.
Right. We did, there's a number of ones Mrs. Zotner pulled out today around budgeting and financial things that I'm going to go over. I don't know if that was in there, but I can certainly make sure. I know that Mrs. Worsbicky brought forward student activity policies recently, but I'll have to check and see if it addressed that issue. But we can definitely review that.
Any other comments? I did get a second on that, correct? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There's a vote, and we do need to go into executive session.
Ever so briefly, yes.
Okay, I would entertain that motion.
I will make a motion that we go into executive session per Mass General Law, Chapter 30, Section 21A2, to conduct strategies for negotiations with union and non-union personnel, and per Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation.
Do I have a second?
The second part of that, I apologize, is not needed. Litigation is only to discuss strategy with union, non-union personnel.
Okay, we'll
Okay.
subtract Section 21.
Sorry.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote. Sarrington?
Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
Mrs. Kaufman?
Yes.
Mrs. Holloway?
Yes.
Mr. Scobie?
Yes. Good night, everyone.